You host it, so you get it going whenever we're going.
All right, I think it's going. I'm throwing it on Twitter now. That's it. All right. It's all in. We're good. Whenever.
Little throwback.
Right. Circa 2016 when we were covering the defending champion Royals. Hadn't it been a while?
It's so crazy because like I like talk to people about that. Like whenever I talk sports, I like tell people about that and stuff about that era. Got like the little Charlie Hustle retweet.
I know, man. We were like about to give away merch and shit, weren't we? Get some from them or something. I don't know. Obviously, the setup is way better now, as you can see. God, I was recording voice memos and sending them to Florida for you to throw together and put on Podbean. So,
yeah, for like the longest time we were doing just audio, and that was like the goal to get the video.
Right. Crazy. Finally, get it all set up, get everything going, but here it is. So,
so the goal would be do it every Saturday.
Yeah,
before NFL.
Yeah.
On Sunday, obviously, we could talk about the Thursday night game, and then after would be to do it on like Tuesday.
Right. If we could do 2 a week, to preview the games and then to go over everything, I think that'd be lit. But God, what do we got now? Today's Sunday. Is it 4 days? Chiefs Texans 4 days.
4 days, technically 3 for me because I don't got to work tomorrow. I'm sure you're working.
I am. I work every day. I work. Yeah, I got Thursday night covered. That's all that matters, obviously. So you know we're gonna be watching that somewhere. Well, like we talked about earlier, if them tickets get any cheaper.
Tickets for the Chiefs game currently at $176 for 4 tickets. Yeah, so $176 a piece, but you have to buy 4. So
it'll be nice. How many teams are actually how many teams are actually having fans? Because I know like Philadelphia, before the MLB season even started, they banned all fans through the end of 2020. So like I know the Eagles won't have no fans. Like it's all different in different cities and stuff like that. So I
think it's around half. I know some teams were having some teams were disputing it back and forth with the NFL, but
yeah.
Buffalo Bills, no. Miami is allowing. Patriots will not have fans. Jets, no fans. Ravens, no fans. That's pretty huge.
Oh, here we go. ESPN's got a pretty nice story about it.
Bengals, no fans.
Dolphins are allowing 13,000, it looks like. Patriots will not have fans through at least September. Okay, so it looks like no fans in New York. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are one of the lucky teams, I guess. I mean, at Arrowhead, 16,000. It's not going to be Arrowhead, but I mean, there'll be some noise in there for sure.
Kind of crazy that the Ravens aren't having fans. I mean, I get some of these like the Jets and the Bengals. Like I get like teams like that, but
yeah,
the fact that the Ravens are, I don't know, that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, it'll affect some teams more than others. Obviously, Arrowhead will be one of the most different stadiums to go to. Jacksonville will feel just like normal, Jacksonville's not going to know the difference. LA Chargers. I mean, the Chiefs are more affected by no fans in LA than the Chargers are, because we fill that fucking 20,000 seat stadium with 16,000 Chiefs fans every year.
Oh, who this hurts the worst is the old Vegas Raiders.
I know, sucks for them to play that. I mean, they're going to be in the stadium this year, right? It's done, isn't it?
Yeah, they're in.
So that sucks for them. Are they having fans or no? Are they no fans?
They are not.
That sucks to have to open that stadium up. I mean, I've seen the pictures and stuff. That stadium is beautiful. Pretty dope stadium for sure.
So baseball didn't handle it very well when it came to the COVID deal, obviously.
Right.
And NBA has probably done the best. And then MLS did a very good job as well.
Yeah, for sure. They're already back to playing, normal games, kind of like MLB now after their tournament, their bubble thing. So they've kind of done it both ways and succeeded both ways. It's kind of crazy.
So any point in this season, do you think there'll be any sort of delay?
It's going to be hard to tell. I mean, you've heard a lot of things about how it's supposed to get bad in the winter. Again, we'll see. I mean, it just all depends on how seriously players take it. I think issues are going to come from teams that are bad. People like Chiefs players, I don't think they're going to be going out like they know. I mean, they're focused on winning another Super Bowl. But teams that, if you're 6-10, 6-8 or something, you're not making the playoffs, like, why wouldn't you go out and then you possibly catch it? And then what I think is going to be crazy, if people do get positive tests and stuff, I think it's going to be a lot of like whole position groups that get screwed by it, because all the wide receiver groups practice together, they go to meetings together, all that stuff. So, if they get in there and they've got it and they pass it along, like what happens if a team loses 5 of their 6 wide receivers do a positive test before a game or something? Like, that's what really gets hairy. Obviously the NFL has expanded practice squads and stuff this year, and they've relieved the rules on it too. I know, like the Chiefs, I think, are adding Matt Moore back to the practice squad. Like, you don't have to be in like your first 2 or 3 seasons anymore. You can add any tenured player onto your practice squad, so that'll really help teams this year. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I still think like if it's one person gets it, they're gonna have. They just don't really have any guidelines on it yet. I'm sure they have it within the teams, like
right.
what or within the NFL. They've probably given them a book of like, this is how you treat it, this is what you do. But that's what we don't know. Like what's gonna happen if, like you said, like 3 wide receivers get it on a team. Does that mean the whole team is gonna have to delay things? Does that mean that they're gonna have to put back a game?
Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Yeah, what happens if a team flies out and they get positive tests the morning of the game, and then there's only one bye week, and if those teams don't have matching bye weeks, like, yeah, how do you? It's easy to do double headers and stuff in the MLB and make up games and figure it out, even in soccer a little bit more. But I mean, you can't have a team play on like Sunday, Thursday, Sunday in an NFL season. Like, it won't work. It's too physically demanding of a game. So if games do end up getting postponed, it will be interesting to see how they work the schedule and stuff around that. So
is the one thing though that I think is going to be different about the NFL than the MLB. I think MLB, like you said, they have a little bit of leeway, obviously, because they can do double headers and they can kind of make up games as they go. And obviously baseball isn't as strenuous or as football. But I do think the NFL, like, I guarantee you they gave everybody a fucking book and was like, this is the COVID book.
Like, here's what you're gonna do, right? Like,
so I do think that they'll have everything in place.
Yeah, for sure. And the NFL's, probably I'm sure they've got more money than the MLB, and they're gonna take it a lot more seriously. And I don't know. I mean, NFL is just one of those sports. The MLB could have tried bubbles, like a couple different ones for those 3 divisions that they did. The NFL, I mean, you got 50 players on a roster plus all the coaches and stuff. You're not putting those guys in a bubble. There's no chance. So you got to just hope, yeah, that they stay out of trouble and stay in their hotels all week, I guess. That's all you got. That's all you can do. But
fuck the COVID, man. Well, I was thinking like we kind of just run down some of the divisions and just who we're thinking is going to just top them. I don't think we really need to give like too much of our predictions as far as like what they're going to like finish their record as or anything, but I think it'd be cool to run down some of the divisions to just talk about what we think is going on. I do think though that like, this year, and I think you could throw in last year as well, like the NFL is getting, it's becoming like more, there's a lot of new things happening again. Like like Tom Brady is no longer on the Patriots. Like Peyton Manning isn't in the league. You got some of these younger quarterbacks coming up and performing well. So I think like the NFL, I mean, I know the numbers aren't going down by any means. They're obviously always growing. But I do think like we're getting to a point in the NFL where things are starting to get shaken up like just a little bit.
I agree. It will be interesting to see, and that's what sucks about the way this whole offseason went. Because I remember the morning that Tom Brady signed with the Patriots, and there was so much going on with the COVID stuff. I mean, that was back in March or April, right? I mean, it was right at the beginning of all this, and like it was something that would have been so. It would have been all anybody talked about for God knows how long, and it was kind of just all overshadowed with everything else going on. And it will be interesting to see. There's a lot of new guys on new teams. DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. I almost forgot about that until I was doing my old like new rosters on the 2K5. I saw him on there. I was like, oh shit, totally forgot.
Questionable. His draft or his fantasy draft pick to me went down with that. Now I think
I agree. I think he helps the Cardinals improve on offense, but as I 100%. Like as far as his fantasy production, I think it goes down with Kyler Murray and just the skill level of that offense, skill level of that team right now. I mean, how do you think? I don't know. I haven't watched Kyler Murray very much in college or in the pros so far. I mean, it seems like people. I don't know. I see everything from people who are high on him to not at all.
I mean, they've like statistically had the worst offensive line,
right? And that doesn't help.
Like for the past like 3 years. So
ask Matt Castle how that goes. I'm just kidding. Matt Castle wasn't bad because of his offensive line. Let's not kid ourselves here.
All right, I think we just start with the AFC East. Obviously the Bills, kind of like the most shocking team out of that last year. You got the Bills, you got the Dolphins, Patriots, and the Jets. I don't think the Jets really need to be talked about yet.
Yeah, they're not. They're not contenders. They might. I mean, to go 7-9 last year, I wouldn't have guessed that they were 7-9 last year. I figured they would have been worse than that. But I mean, the Bills and Patriots are clearly going to be the two teams in that division. The Patriots replacing Brady with Cam Newton. I'm excited to watch the Patriots. And don't get me wrong, I still hate the Patriots. I hate Tom Brady equally, but I feel like if the Buccaneers and Patriots played right now, I'd root for the Patriots just for Cam Newton. Like I really would. I would root for the Patriots. I
have that thought with a few teams this year. Like there's a few teams, and we'll get to them obviously, but like the Patriots are one of those teams that, like, I still have this hatred towards them, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not like I like Cam Newton being there.
Like I've always been a big Newton fan, and it's weird to see him there because it's same kind of like a Drew Lock situation. Like being a local kid, like I love Drew Lock. But then he has to play the Chiefs twice here, and I'm like, all right, fuck you, bro. Like, I hope you lose by 30. But
yeah. So the Bills, they got Stephon Diggs, which was obviously a big pickup. I think that was something that was lacking last year. I did do a little bit of research on them. They were ranked 24th in total yards last season, so Diggs out there is going to help them out.
Who's their running back? Is it Singletary still?
Singletary is still there. I think he's going to be the guy to watch. They did draft somebody, I believe, so maybe he'll get a little bit of time. But Singletary had a very decent year last year.
Really?
And the only reason why I know that is because he's on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
So a little bit of work going in there, but maybe a little bit of bias as well.
Yeah.
But last year they did have the third best defense as far as total yards go in the league. So I don't know how you feel about when you rank defenses, because I think they every single year you could take the top defense of the league, and then the next year after
Right.
that, you
Well,
know,
it all
for
depends
them to
on.
continue to do that, it's not
Yeah.
very common. But I think they'll definitely have a top 10 defense
Yeah,
in the
they've got a
league. And
strong defense, yeah. And it all depends on how you rank the defenses at the end of the day. I mean, the Chiefs, the first, 4 or 5 years with Bob Sutton, the Chiefs were top 10 in points per game. They weren't allowing points, but they were allowing, 25th most yards and, yards a game. So it's all about, yeah, I think at the end of the day, points per game is what matters the most. But, I mean, they've got a solid defense. And, yeah, their offense wasn't that great last year. Josh Allen's getting better as a QB, and I think he can be the QB for them for sure, but yeah, add a weapon like that and yeah, look for him to take the next step. Who do you think wins that division though? Patriots or the Bills? I think the
so I have,
Patriots take it.
yeah, so I know there's a lot of people like talking down on the Patriots, like they're not going to continue to do what they've done, the past decade. But they do have, I think, probably the most notable names in the NFL that are sitting out this year. I just pulled it out. Dante Hightower, who was probably one
Oh,
of the
I
best
did forget about that.
linebackers.
They had a lot of guys opt out.
Yeah, probably one of the best linebackers in the league right now. Patrick Chung at safety. They got like an offensive tackle that's out, running back that's out, fullback that's out, and then another offensive lineman that's out. So defense may not be as, you know, as good as it was last year. People also forget that
They played one
I
of the
know that,
easiest schedules ever last year.
right, but like the Patriots last year, they were a team that, yeah, as bad as they did perform at the end of the year, they still had a fucking top 5 defense.
Well, that's the thing. Their
And
defense was very good last year, and I mean, this may be controversial, but I think a lot of the Patriots were held back by Tom Brady at the end of last year. I mean, he wasn't throwing anything down the field. He didn't play well last year by any means, Not to, I don't blame that 100% on Tom Brady because he also had no weapons, He had Josh Gordon for like a game, and then
Philip Dorsett, N'Keal
right,
Harry, all young ass dudes.
right. And that's why I'm excited a lot more for the Patriots this year because Bill Belichick, love him or hate him, which I fucking hate him. He's a great coach, and even though he's defensive minded, he's going to be more than willing to change that offense. Him and Josh McDaniels, they'll make that offense work for Cam Newton, and it's going to look a lot different than last year. And I think they're going to have more success on offense than last year, which is why I think they win that division. I mean, the Bills, I'm sure, will be a wild card with the new NFL playoffs. It's 3 wild card teams now, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I think the Bills definitely get in, but
I mean, obviously at Cam at quarterback, it just gives you
right.
more
If he's
room,
healthy, and he stays healthy,
more things to do offensively. I think a guy like Tom Brady is a good quarterback, but it's kind of like playing Madden. Like, do you want Peyton Manning on your team, or do you want Peyton Manning in his prime on your team, or do you want Lamar Jackson on your team when you're playing
right?
Madden? Like, you obviously want Lamar Jackson on your team, and I think it just to where we're at in the NFL, especially in today's
100%.
world, you're going to take Lamar Jackson, even if he can't make all those throws or he can't do, the quick little 5-yard, 10-yard plays that Peyton Manning could do in his sleep.
Right.
You're still as an offensive mind. But yeah, I'm actually going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills topple them. I think it'll only be by like a game or two that they come out, but that's just what I'm going to go with. I do think that they'll be a great team, but we haven't seen enough from Cam Newton for 3-4 years.
Right. I think it's
for me to like put my, eggs in his basket. Yeah. So
I think, at the end of the day, it comes down to his health. I mean, he wasn't healthy in Carolina, and I mean, we saw that when he is healthy, you saw what he could do. He was a 15-1 MVP, went to the Super Bowl, lost to one of the greatest defenses ever against Denver. Like we see what he can do, and he's getting up there in age, obviously, but it's something that, yeah, if he stays healthy, the Patriots are going to draw up an offense that he can succeed in, and with that defense. So I guess I'm putting my money on that he stays healthy, and I hope he does, because I've always been a huge Cam Newton fan. Even back to Auburn, he was fun to watch back when I actually watched college football. And
Buffalo Bills also just remind me of like a fucking Chiefs Alex Smith team where they just have such a good team around them. And it's really up to Alex Smith to go out there and beat the better teams that the Chiefs
just bring him
are
home.
50-50 on.
Right.
If Buffalo Buffalo and the Patriots play next year, 10 games, I could see it going 5-5. Like
Yeah.
I just think it's something like that. So what we got next on the list? AFC South or
AFC
West?
West is right underneath. Yeah, we can go them. Obviously,
Okay.
we may be a little biased in this pick, but I'll be straight up with the continuity the Chiefs are going to have as far as returning 18 out of 21 out of 22 starters, which was 20 until a couple players opted out. You lost virtually no coaches, no assistant coaches, no positional coaches. And all you do is add guys in the draft. You sign a couple free agents, no big names or anything like that. But the continuity the Chiefs have with the defense coming together like it did last year, I'm not going to say the Chiefs are going 16-0, but like I don't see the Chiefs having trouble in many games at all this year, especially early in the season. Like against the Texans, I just think we just blow teams out at the beginning of the year, and it's just not going to be close because you've got this team that's completely put together from last year. You don't have to change the system. You don't have to change the terminology. And so many teams, like imagine being a first-year head coach, first-year coordinator, having to implement a system in this. Like the rookies might have a little bit of an issue, but I've got the Chiefs running away with this division, and it's not close, and like 14-2 in a year like this.
I agree with you. I think one thing that I know we got the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
One thing that like people just forget is that our defense was trash during the playoffs. Now there was a few quarters they put it together, obviously, and allowed us to win games. But beginning of the season, first 8 games?
Through the Titans game, I mean, the pass defense shored itself up through most of the year, but it was the run defense. I mean, that loss against the Texans, the loss against the Colts, those back-to-back losses early in the year, it was because we couldn't get the ball back. They would run the ball, take 10 minutes off the clock every drive and keep it. I mean, that's the only way you beat the Chiefs is to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, and those teams executed it perfectly. But after that Titans game, you saw when they won the last 6 games of the year and ended up winning the Super Bowl, they finally put it together. They've got that run defense shored up. And with Tyrann Mathieu, with Shavarius Ward, Brashad Breeland after 4 games in your secondary, the secondary's solid. And as long as that run defense comes out playing the way it did at the end of last year, I mean, the Chiefs have a top 15, top 10 defense, which is when you have the offense you have, that's all you need.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they obviously just have to put it together. And one thing I do think that the Chiefs are doing well, and I think this will be a formula going forward. I don't follow enough defense in the league to know that this is a thing, or to even in the future know that it's a thing.
Uh-huh.
But you stack the line and you have good safeties.
Yeah.
And then you kind of fill in the gaps from there. I also do think that another thing too, when you're like, no one's gonna sit here and talk about the Chiefs offense in any negative light. So I think we could kind of skip over that. But the fact that Chris Jones got his deal, Frank Clark is hopefully going to be way more healthy this year than he was last year. You got Juan Thornhill, who arguably, if he would have finished the whole season, could have been in the
Rookie of the year
from Rookie of the Year.
100%.
You got Tyrann Mathieu, who basically put all this together, and he's coming back for his second year. Like, he's ready to fucking go. You got Travis Kelce coming off. He just got more money when he probably wasn't even expecting it. Like everybody's in a good situation. Sammy Watkins, just hearing him talk seems to be.
Well, Sammy Watkins took a pay cut to stay because he wanted to stay, and what's also crazy about that, all that stuff you mentioned, and these guys are still just as motivated as ever, like they get their rings. You see all these guys get their rings, and what's the first thing they put on Twitter after they get it? Hashtag run it back. Like, They didn't even, they almost like didn't enjoy it. They're like, all right, dude, we got the Texans in 6 days. Like, give me my fucking ring. Let me put it in my display case and let's go get another one. Like, they already got their second display case. That's what they're working for at this point. And that's what's really awesome to see, because I think a lot of teams in the past where you see they get that Super Bowl, they get complacent, especially when a lot of guys get their money, they get complacent. And it's way too early to tell. Obviously, there's been no games played, but it seems like that's not happening in Kansas City. And, as Chiefs fans, that's great to see, because I'm trying to see 2, 3, not 4, not 5,
10.
Yeah. Oh God, that would be incredible. Like,
just to finish off the AFC West, I do want to say I think going into the season, if you would ask me the most intriguing player, or who, not like excitement, but just who I want to see, I think Drew Lock falls under that category, and he
absolutely
has to be number 1. He had a few good wins, a few close good wins last year.
He was 4-1 as a starter, right? The only loss was in Arrowhead in the snow, which, I mean, come on, like, they didn't have a chance.
Smacked,
yeah, you didn't have a chance in that game.
Yeah, I think that he's kind of just like that big question mark type of guy. Is he a guy that could put it together? I do think that they need a few years to just figure it out, obviously. Like, I don't think that they're going to be a playoff team by any means, but I do think that he is kind of like the guy to watch.
Yeah.
Can he turn into even like a Josh Allen? Like,
Right.
can he be a guy that can go out there and win you 8 to 9 games and at least get you in a position to step up and play? We talked about the Patriots. Obviously, we're Kansas City Chiefs fans, so we fucking normally hate the Patriots, right?
Right.
So this is how I'm starting to feel about the Chargers. I like the Tyrod Taylor sighting. I like it makes it as a fan, like it makes me just kind of like, okay, like the Chargers, like you can win your few games, or
right. Yeah.
Like you're not gonna beat us. Like I think we're in a completely separate category.
I mean, since Andy Reid got here, I just expect 6-0 in the division every year. Like,
yeah, like
if you're 4-2 in the division, it's disappointing. Yeah. As far as the AFC West, though, I mean, do any of those three teams make the playoffs? Do you think any of those three get the wild card? The Raiders, I don't think so. No chance.
No,
I think the Broncos might have a shot
over the Chargers.
Yeah, I think the Broncos. I don't know. I mean, the Chargers. It'll all depend on Tyrod Taylor, I think. I mean, the Chargers have a good offense. They've got good offensive skill players around them. They do have a good defense. Their problem every year is injuries, though. I mean, they're decimated by... I mean, this might be the Chargers' year now that you think of it, because normally we have training camp, and by the end of training camp, 30% of the Chargers roster's on IR. So this might be the Chargers' time to shine, because they didn't have that training camp to just decimate their team. So who knows?
I think for the past, 7 years, there's always one big media guy or 1 to 3 big media guys.
They all pick the Chargers every year. There's someone, I'll find it right now. Someone picked the Chargers to beat the Chiefs in the AFC West, like we didn't just win a Super Bowl. Someone's got the Chargers going 12-4 and winning the AFC West every fucking year. But
I will say though, what the Raiders are doing over there is, if they can find their guy at quarterback, I think they're like reaching that point.
Yeah, I mean, they've drafted really well as far as skill players last year. Who is their wide receiver? I'm not going to be able to remember his name.
But, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they had one. Well, then they just drafted one this year. Was it Judy they drafted this year?
I don't know.
There were 2 from Alabama. It was Jerry Judy, and then I don't know. Yeah, if you find it real fast, but they're doing good things, and I mean that's their biggest issue. Henry Ruggs. Yep. I think you're absolutely right, and it's just going to be the quarterback. And I'm telling you, Derek Carr's not the answer, and I'm telling you, Marcus Mariota, who they signed, is sure as hell not the answer. So, I mean, that's about the worst position you can be in as a quarterback situation is the Raiders, having Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota to back him up, because your fans, Derek Carr is going to throw a pick, and all your fans are going to want Marcus Mariota to come in, and he's going to come in, and he's going to be even worse. And it's
rumor has it is that Gruden. I think even since Gruden got there, he was done with Derek Carr. Rumor has it is that Mariota may start this year.
Really? I mean, as soon as Derek Carr struggles, I think Mariota's in there. From what we saw, the way it ended for Mariota in Tennessee, if it's anything like that, I don't know. I mean, he's not strong as a passer, so he's going to have to figure it out. But we'll see. AFC North, though. AFC North... Ravens 14-2 last year. Steelers went 8-8 without Big Ben. I think the Steelers are really interesting. I'm not saying they're going to win the division or anything, but Big Ben back, and porn addiction and alcoholism is taken care of, it seems like. So he seems healthy. He seems thin. He says his arm feels great. So I don't know. I mean, when you put a solid quarterback back in that Steelers team that was already 8-8, they had a great defense, obviously. And I'm not saying they're going to beat the Steelers by any means, but I think they can easily make the playoffs.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Who you got? I know you're not about to pick the Browns. What are you doing? What is he doing? Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. I know you're not picking the Browns. I know you're not. You're not picking the Browns, right? Okay, all right, you tell me right now. Why are the Browns winning the AFC South, AFC North? Why are the Browns winning the North?
Stacked offense in the fucking league.
Okay.
Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, arguably the best running back in the league. They got Odell. They got Landry. They got all these fucking pieces. Fucking Baker Mayfield's going to put it together this year, and we're going to see a fucking at least 10-6.
Think so. Okay,
May
so
not win the division,
who's the Browns' new head coach?
Who knows? Who cares?
Okay,
Better
well, they had all that shit last year. I was going to say, they had all that shit last year, and what did they do? Like, it's got to come down to the coaching, right? Because Freddie Kitchens was a fucking joke, and I don't know. The Browns have got to have the coaching, because you're right. As far as Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, if Baker Mayfield plays well, he didn't play well last year. Like, he didn't. He's got to play better than he did last year.
All right, it was kind of a troll. I don't really think that. I do think that, like, you want to be fun. You want to, like, they do have a great fucking offense. And,
I agree.
Baker is that fucking wrench in the whole thing. You could say it's coaching, whatever. Obviously, if it's like just like going to class.
Yeah.
Like when you were in high school, it was like, no matter if you're good at math, if you don't like your teacher, you're going to say, fuck this class, and you're not going to be good at it. So, I do think that has something to do with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, Baker just has to be a better quarterback. They have everything that they need. Yeah. Odell's got to stop being a bitch as well. And I mean, I think we'll be fine. But it's funny that you brought up the Big Ben story about like alcoholism and porn, because I read there was like a big article that came out this year.
Yeah.
And it was about that, and it didn't really get picked up. Like nobody really even talked about it. And he said that last year, the beginning of last year, was like the first time that he had been sober from everything.
Right.
He found God. He did, big spiritual guy now. And then he goes out there and gets injured, and we don't even get to see anything that happened.
Yeah.
So I still like the Steelers. I still think Big Ben is a top 10 quarterback in the league if he can stay healthy and he can minimize on his mistakes. So I'm not going to rule them out. Obviously, you got the Ravens there.
Yeah.
They're more than likely going to take it. I hate to say this as a Chiefs fan, but like this is the Ravens' year to do it. Like if they're going to do it at all, like this is the first year that it happens. So, and again, going against my point there, I guess, is you got to win a playoff game.
Right.
I mean, it's very rare that you see a team fucking go from barely making the playoffs. You get Lamar Jackson, you make the playoffs. You're basically the best team in the NFL. I think people would say that last year they were the best team in the NFL.
Absolutely, over the regular season, 100%.
And you go and shit the bed in a big playoff game. So, right. I mean, you got to win that playoff game first for me to have full confidence in that.
And I think they got to win that playoff game to have confidence in themselves. Because if they go out again this year and go 13-3, number 1 or number 2 seed, and lose in the playoffs again, then all of this success that they've had in the regular season, that's all gone. Then the whole thing is questioning them and can they win, and nothing's going to matter for them in the regular season anymore, And as Chiefs fans, we know all about that because for the last 20 years prior to the last 2, that's all it was just, it didn't matter how good you were, and teams don't take you seriously. And that's something we can speak on too.
It's funny being like a Chiefs fan now because I feel like I'm like experienced in this. I'm like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm like an experienced person when it comes to the playoffs now.
Yeah, we've experienced both. Like,
right.
We've experienced.
Like I understand that the Bills are never going to get to a Super Bowl unless they have the best defense in the league and they have a few plays that get them there. You just have that understanding now, and obviously the Ravens can do it. They've shown that they can beat any team in the NFL, but. Yeah, let's win a playoff game first.
Right.
I did want to ask you, and I kind of think like he's gone under the radar. I mean, NFL in general hasn't really been talked about. I feel like, it's been talked about. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. It doesn't really seem mainstream right now, especially with the NBA. There's no preseason. You don't really have the same media that you used to with like training camp and stuff. But what's your thoughts on Joe Burrow?
I don't know. I mean, he's a solid QB from what it looked like. He's got a good arm. He seems to have a lot of the intangibles. I think it's all going to come down to the coaching. I think we've really seen in the last few years how important just having that right coaches to young quarterback success. You know, when quarterbacks go into systems coached by guys that I couldn't even name one right now because they lasted a year and then they got fired. You know, when they get into terrible offensive schemes, terrible coaches, and when they have to go in there in their first 3 or 4 years, have 3 or 4 different offensive coordinators. You know, I don't know who the Bengals' new head coach is. Off the top of my head, but I think it's going to depend a lot on coaching, and I think he's got the talent. It's just going to be the
Zach
team around him
Taylor.
and stuff. Zach Taylor, okay. I mean, he was the
He
Patriots
was the
defensive coordinator, right?
he was originally assistant coach for the Rams.
Oh, the Rams. Okay, so I mean, he comes from a team that had a lot of success offensively prior to last year, but I think a lot of it comes down to that. I think he'll have a solid season. I think he'll have a lot of growing pains too, especially with the talent around him. You know, you can't just not everybody walks into the talent that Mahomes walks into, that Deshaun Watson walks into, that Lamar Jackson walked into. You know, like those three guys, their success is helped a lot by the fact that they came into teams that were already pretty solid. So to come into a team like the Bengals, it's all going to depend on, is AJ Green going to be healthy this year? Will he at least have AJ Green to throw to? Because I took AJ Green in the second round of my fantasy draft last year and he didn't play a fucking snap. So
So I did as well. I didn't take him as early as the second round, but he is healthy. I think he left training camp for like a few days and then he was back. But
yeah,
I mean, obviously the goal is for him to be out there all year, so he's going to be starting. I like Joe Burrow. I think he's a guy that you don't really have too much film on. You don't really have too much that you know about him, but I think we kind of thought the same. I'm not going to say that he's going to be a Patrick Mahomes, but like kind of felt like he was the same as Patrick Mahomes, just kind of like this like guy that you had a few big plays from. And I mean, obviously he was the number one draft pick, so forth. But or what was he, number two? Number one?
Number one, right? Burrow went one, and then Tua went 2 or 3. I don't remember.
Get the defensive. I thought there was like a defensive tackle that went one, but
I thought Burrow went one, and then the defensive tackle went 2, and then Tua went 3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he
Was
went
it
one,
Young?
but obviously, I don't know. I'm a little bit higher on him than I think most people. Yeah, he's not entering the best situation, but I think they'll get a few wins and they'll obviously do better than 2-14. I think next year obviously isn't his year, but give him a few years and we'll see where he's at.
Yeah, for sure. See what we got. AFC South now.
Yes,
It'll be an
sir.
interesting division. I don't know. The Texans have a lot of talent, but they've got awful coaching. That's what I'm not sure about them. The Colts got Phillip Rivers.
I think that this is one of the most intriguing divisions in the NFL to me. I think the Texans, everybody, I think is kind of doubting them for some reason, but I still think Deshaun Watson is the third best quarterback in the AFC.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to think that he's not. That offense is still going to be good, I believe, without Hopkins. Kind of thought Hopkins was a little bit of a I don't know, kind of like an Odell, like it's like pick your poison type of guy.
Yeah.
It's like are you in a good mood today or are you in a bad mood today?
Right.
And it's just like that's going to be based on how you perform. So I still think that the Houston Texans come out on this. I have a lot of people around me that are like really high on the Colts, and the Colts are going to be the team that beat a few good teams throughout the year. I'm not sure what division they play in the NFC. But,
how do you feel about the Colts? Because I'm not high at all on them. I think that Phillip Rivers is done. I think he's been done for a couple of years. I feel like his arm is not there anymore. I mean, as Chiefs fans, we see him twice a year, and he was just throwing ducks. I mean, he throws so many picks, and I think the Colts would have been better off with Jacoby Brissett. I don't know why they got rid of Brissett. Or, I mean, they didn't get rid of him, I'm sorry. But why they wouldn't have just stuck with him. I know he was hurt last year, but I think Jacoby Brissett's a better option right now than Phillip Rivers.
So my theory with this is that I'm a firm believer in just getting a new scene. So I think that there's probably a lot of motivation there and more motivation going into the season for him.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's like you got to prove me wrong for, like you have to go out there and show something else before I'm going to sit here and say that Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback.
Right.
Like you got to go out there and do something different for me to say that. But I do think that they'll get a few wins this year. It's kind of like the Drew Lock situation where, like, they got a few wins at the end of the year that maybe didn't matter all that much, but they were good morale wins.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing with the Colts is that, I mean, we lost, the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Colts last year, which was a game that, we should have won 100%.
Yep.
But, we lose.
But that game was started by Brissett too.
Exactly. I don't. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to give Phillip Rivers the benefit of the doubt when it comes to just switching teams.
And I agree. I think he definitely needed that after those last couple of years in LA. He needed that to get away from all that. And I don't know. I think the Colts are sitting right at 7-9 again. One team, I mean, obviously, let's talk about forgotten about teams. The Tennessee Titans, who were in the AFC Championship game last year. Like, I mean, that's a team that the Texans everyone talks about, the Colts everyone talks about, and even the Jaguars, prior to them completely blowing up their team that was, 2 years removed from an AFC Championship game themselves? Like, Jesus. Of all the teams, the Colts and the Texans are always the two darlings of that division, and the last two AFC Championship games, two of the last three, were the Titans and the Jaguars in the AFC Championship. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Jaguars are going 2-14 this year. I mean, they've demolished that team, and I don't know why or how or... they're going to clean house after this year, it seems like.
Coming straight from the GM, he said that there was a lot of toxicity in that locker room.
The Chiefs broke the Jaguars. That's what happened. The Chiefs broke the Jaguars. After that game, not week 1 last year, but the game in the regular season the year before, when they were talking all that shit, and who was the linebacker that... My God, the linebacker that was, laughing. He's like... they asked about the Chiefs and Mahomes and stuff in the interview, and he laughed. He's like, I don't know why people think this team's so good, and was laughing him off. That dude retired over the offseason. He was 25. He retired. We broke that team. That was us. We did that. So yeah,
Telvin Smith.
Right. Yeah, Telvin Smith. But I don't know. I think it comes down to the Texans and Titans in this one, and I think I got the Titans. Give Tannehill a full year as the starter. Obviously, Derrick Henry is a beast of a running back. I mean, he just runs people over, except for the second half of the AFC Championship game.
And like we said before, Jadeveon Clowney.
Right, yeah. Him, yeah, I forgot about that just today. So that's a team. I think the Titans win that division for sure this year.
So do you think it'll be a close division like it was last year? I mean, we see the Texans went 10-6.
Yeah, I think it'll be close for sure. I think it'll be something right in there. Maybe 11-5, 10-6. I think they both make the playoffs.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Titans versus Buffalo. Who do you think who do you think wins more games by the end of the season?
Tennessee.
Gotcha.
Okay. I think the Titans are 11-5 to 9-7, and I think the Bucks or the Bills are probably 8-8 to 10-6. I think they're pretty close, but I think head to head, I think the Titans would win that game. Would be a better team.
The only thing that I guess I have a problem with is the Titans. With the Titans is I don't mind Tannehill being there. I don't think he's the guy that wins you a Super Bowl by any means. I just have a fear of putting as much as you did on Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
this year, just having that.
I mean, running back durability, running back career length is definitely, when they're done, they're done. So,
right, and I'm not worried about him getting hurt or anything, because you could say that for anybody, right?
Yeah.
But I do think Derrick Henry had been in the league for how long until last year happened? So it's kind of just one of those things. Can you actually do that again? And not only be a guy that's a good player, but be a guy that wins you games.
Right.
It's a different story when you're talking about a great running back. It's another thing to say, okay, this is our guy that we're going to put all our eggs in this basket to go out there and win us 11 games, or 9 of those 11 games. But right. I agree with you. I do think that the Tennessee Titans I think that the Tennessee Titans and the Texans could finish at the same record at the end of the day.
Yep.
We'll just see.
All right, well, over to the NFC side. NFC East, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and the Washington football team. Eagles won the division last year at 9-7, Cowboys 8-8. I mean, that division was they were trying to give it to each other down the stretch the whole year. I mean, I guess not really. The Eagles won their last 4, as we can see there. Carson Wentz, does he stay healthy? I mean, that's going to be the biggest issue, I guess. I mean, Carson Wentz was healthy last year, and I can't blame him. I got to stop this because I think a lot of people blame him for that concussion in the playoffs. And like, concussions is kind of an injury. There's nothing you can do. He can't control that, and that's something that the NFL takes serious enough that when you get that, you're not getting back out there on the field. So I think the Eagles have the talent. I think they've got the coaching and stuff. Obviously, they're 2 years removed from a Super Bowl themselves, so it's all going to come down to Carson Wentz and can he stay healthy? And I mean, obviously, they're concerned about that too, to a certain extent, because they wouldn't have drafted Jordan Love as high as they did if they were confident in him. So
I think this division comes down to just the Cowboys. Like, how good are the Cowboys going to be? Because they're just a team that every year they could either go 14-2, 13-3, or they can go 8-8. Like,
well, and the Cowboys are not an 8-8 team. The Cowboys have way more talent than an 8-8 team, and it seems like they underperform every year and do stuff like this. And I don't understand it. I think it's just a circus.
The Cowboys are definitely better than the Chargers, but the Cowboys are the Chargers of the AFC.
Yeah. Super high expectations every year, underperform, miss the playoffs. I mean, and when they do make the playoffs, it's a first round exit.
Right. And yeah, and I've lost a lot of money on the fucking Cowboys in the playoffs.
Oh, yikes.
But I know you're talking about Carson Wentz, and I like Carson Wentz. I think he's in that second division of quarterbacks, and he kind of leads it. But the Jalen Hurts draft pick, to me, is the best draft pick in the draft.
Did I say Jordan Love? I'm sorry. That's who I meant.
Jalen Hurts is a guy that's played at the highest level of college football for every single year. He stayed the most amount of time that you could in college football, played at the highest level,
lost his job, transferred, continued to play at a high level,
Right. I mean, it's just very rare. I mean, like, I can't even think of anybody of his caliber that's done what he's done. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that he's, should have been first overall round draft pick or anything like that. I just think he's a guy that you could plug in if Carson Wentz is doing bad or he gets injured like he has been, that he's a guy that can carry them and can perform. So I do like that aspect of the Eagles. I think too, like, even though they won the division, still like not a talked about team for the past few years.
Yeah, and they really had some injuries last year that they battled too outside of Wentz during the regular season that really hurt them. I mean, their whole receiving core was out at a certain point last year, and obviously Nelson Aguilar forgot how to catch the ball for a period of time, and they really struggled. And Carson Wentz can only have as much success, I think, if he has that. If he's got those weapons he can throw to, then he can definitely have a bounce back season. And the Eagles, I think it's going to come down to the Eagles and Cowboys. Don't get me wrong. I think the Giants and Redskins are two teams. I don't know how to feel about Haskins. How do you feel about Dwayne Haskins?
I'm not a fan, and I was going to bring this up to you. I just don't. I've seen too much about his. I'm like a big like mental guy.
Yeah.
The type of energy you put out is kind of like the type of energy you receive, sort of situation. It's kind of like when we talk about like Odell and guys like that. It's like, like he can have a great day because he's positive, and he can have a bad day because he's negative.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting, the Alex Smith dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, is Alex Smith ever going to see the field again? And if he does, he's on the best team for him to get a chance to see the field again.
Right. No, you're not gonna lie. You're not lying.
I did read that yesterday he did make the 53-man roster. He's likely the number 3 quarterback, at least for now. Kyle Allen is over there as well. He was that Houston college. He played at Houston in college.
I know who you're talking about.
Second year.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I mean, fucking Washington football team was terrible last year. So I don't know. we'll see about that. I
Yeah.
would love to see Alex Smith to see the field again.
Yeah.
So that's the
Well,
only
yeah.
thing that
I
I
want
can
to take a minute, to thank Alex Smith, and I mean that guy. I mean, for him to even be back now and mentoring. I saw an article this week about how Alex Smith is already mentoring Dwayne Haskins, and Dwayne Haskins like feels like a little brother and stuff like that. Like that guy has been the epitome of a professional from the day he came into the league. Number one draft pick in the Aaron Rodgers draft. That's what's always talked about is how Rodgers fell, and Alex Smith is this number one pick who didn't live up to expectations for the longest time. I mean, 6-7 years in San Francisco, he's getting benched and restarted and all that stuff. And to finally get to Kansas City and do what he did the last couple years, my God, I mean, I'm forgetting the way it ended in San Francisco. For him to be leading the league in passing percentage and one of the most efficient quarterbacks, then losing your job to Kaepernick because Kaepernick comes in and that new style of play that Kaepernick really kind of jump-started in the NFL. To lose your job like that and to come to Kansas City and just turn them. I mean, the Chiefs were 2-14 the year that Alex Smith came, and they had the whole Javon Belcher. I mean that organization, that culture was about as bad as it could have been, and for him to come in with Dorsey and Andy Reid and change that organization, like the amount of ex players that have gotten Chiefs Super Bowl rings that I've seen this week, Alex Smith 100% needs a ring. I don't know if he doesn't have one yet because he's on the Redskins roster, because that's a whole conflict of interest, but there better be one sitting in the closet at Arrowhead as soon as he retires that we can give him one, because that guy deserves it, and he's forever. I mean, for a guy who got so much hate, too, during the time he was with the Chiefs, I mean, I think so many people love him now, and he's, one of the most underrated players in Chiefs history. He really was the biggest part of this turnaround.
I thought I read after they won the Super Bowl that they were going to give him one, but
they should. I sure hope they do. I really do.
Before we leave the NFC East, do you think Daniel Jones for the Giants is the future for them?
I don't know. I think we'll see this year. It's another one of those cases where you don't have a whole lot of talent around you, and you got to kind of deal with what you got. I think he didn't play too bad last year, given the circumstances. Did they make a coaching change? With everything going on this year and this whole offseason, I really haven't followed as much of the coaching and as much of that as I should. Is it Matt Rule?
Joe Judge.
Joe Judge. Okay, so it's a new coach for sure, but
it looks like he's from the Belichick tree.
Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I think he has the potential. He's one that I don't know. It's not like a sure thing for sure. It'll be something where the Giants are going to have to, if they have any success, it's going to be on the back of Saquon Barkley this season, I would think.
He got 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots. He was both special teams coordinator and wide receivers coach.
Okay.
So obviously not a bad pickup, but yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I don't really even know who to relate Daniel Jones to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like, is he kind of like a Tyrod Taylor type? Like, I don't fucking know.
Matt Castle. He's a Damon Heward. Sorry, that's disrespectful. I don't know him like that. NFC West, though, this is an intriguing division. Obviously, you've got the 49ers and Seahawks back on top of that one, which in the early 2000s, 2010 through about 2015, that was my favorite rivalry in the NFL between Richard Sherman and Crabtree and all those guys. That was a really fun one to watch. It was always heated. So these two teams back, and Niners obviously went to the Super Bowl last year. They extend Kittle. They've still got Garoppolo. That team, as long as Garoppolo knows how to hand the ball off, they seem to have success. So then you got the Seahawks with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's just a gamer, and I think Russell Wilson puts that Seahawks team 3-4 wins ahead of what that team actually is at all times. Like he hasn't had a lot of receivers. He hasn't had a great offensive line in the last few years, and he just always puts that team on his back, and he gets them there. So I don't know in this one. Obviously, the Rams, 2 years from a Super Bowl, fell to 9-7 last year. So
yeah, it's crazy. Like, the Rams last year, I think, were kind of slighted, like, for where they actually finished. I mean, they finished 9-7, which isn't terrible,
right?
But yeah, I think the biggest question mark in this division is if a team like the 49ers can do what they did last year again. Like, they don't really they have star power, especially on defense. Offense, they have, weapons and so forth, but can they do what they did last year? Is just a big question mark. Like, I don't really know. Seahawks are, I would say, 100% going to make the playoffs no matter what.
Yeah, I think both of those teams are pretty much locks for playoffs. As far as who wins the division, I don't know. I think I would pick Seattle this year. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo obviously has an incredible record as a starting quarterback. To go 13-3 this year, he won his. I mean, I guess he technically went 1-1 last year because he lost the start against the Chiefs where he went down. But I mean, yeah, he's got, I guess, 13-3. He's got like an 18-4 record as a starter. So I mean, he wins games, and he kind of reminds me of an Alex Smith type of player. Like, he doesn't go out and just throw for a million yards. He doesn't put the team on his back and make plays like a Mahomes does, but he manages the game. He puts the team in position to win. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over, and they're efficient, and that's all you need. I mean, with the defense that they had, that's what you need. So as far as the Rams, though, how do you feel? I mean, Jared Goff really took a step back last year. Do you think Jared Goff is going to be a viable QB option for LA?
I actually don't hate Jared Goff. I think he's kind of like a Carson Wentz, where he somewhat leads that like second division of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I definitely put him in the second tier.
But since Todd Gurley fell off, you've seen that team kind of fall off. I think 2-3 years ago, you would have said that the Rams were in the same position the 49ers were in. Like they were just this team that was overall had some of the best talent, and they just won you games. And now they're just, like I said, they went 9-7 last year, which wasn't bad, but they were looked at as not a great team last year.
Right.
And also, I think that people discredit the NFC. I mean, the NFC they run it up every single year. I mean, there's definitely way more talent over there, and it's getting better.
The top of the NFC,
I think the AFC has more of the top tier teams, but when it comes to that second tier, it's all NFC teams.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I don't think Jared Goff is a bad quarterback, but I don't really see him getting much better.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who seems to have, he's just got a ceiling where he can lead you to regular season success, and with that running game and with that talent around him, he can get you to a Super Bowl, but he's not one of those quarterbacks who's going to put the team on his back in the playoffs when it matters most and single-handedly carry him to a win. It just doesn't seem like he's got that in him.
Cam Akers out of Florida State, he seems to be the guy that's going to be leading the charge next year under running back. So I don't know. I think it all kind of depends on that. I mean, like I just said, Todd Gurley was kind of that forefront and focal point of that offense that kind of got them to the red zone.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can continue that. I think I said this about the AFC South with Houston, Colts, and Titans, that this is the strongest division in the NFC. So
yeah, I agree.
I mean, I guess we'll just see how it plays out, but
yeah,
it's a hard division to be in.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, it sucks for the Cardinals. Another strong division, the NFC North. Obviously, Packers 13-3 last year, went to the NFC Championship game. They kind of flew under the radar. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about the Packers a lot last year, and for them to, I mean, they were the number one seed, right? Or was it New Orleans? I guess they both went 13-3, but that's a team that, as long as, I think there's definitely some animosity building and continuing to build between the organization and Aaron Rodgers, which you see the Jordan Love went to the Packers, not the Eagles. Jordan Love draft pick in the first round.
Please tell me why Aaron Rodgers is not sitting out this year.
If I were him, I would. Why not?
I would sit out this year and demand a fucking trade. You don't have that much time left, A-Rod.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And don't get me wrong, like, I think Aaron Rodgers is a bit of a diva himself, but that Packers organization, since he's been there, he walked in and he had his most success when he got the team that Brett Favre had. He's had nothing, no offensive weapons around him. He's had nothing since Greg Jennings, like Randall Cobb. They haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round in forever. Yeah. Okay, you're right, but I mean, you've seen you can't just have one weapon in the NFL in 2020. You've got to have skill players, and he just doesn't have it. And his defense has always been absolutely atrocious. He's never gotten the help from his higher ups to put a team around him that he can lead. Because Aaron Rodgers is 100% a quarterback who can put the team on his back.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan Love was a first-round draft pick?
He was. First-round pick.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since 2009 or something. but you're taking Jordan Love in the first round. I mean, they're done. I can't see Aaron Rodgers with the Packers past this year, maybe 2 years. I mean, at this point, and like you said, at some point he needs to just ask to be taken out of there. It's not worth it. The whole relationship. I'm not saying either one's perfect. I'm not taking sides, but it's clearly a broken relationship. And Aaron Rodgers is too good a quarterback to sit there and be in purgatory with the Packers and have all this going on.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that Aaron Rodgers is the perfect fucking model that people should follow, but he's a player.
Yeah.
You know, and you have higher ups like coaches and GMs making these decisions. Like, okay, I'm the guy that's on the field. Listen to me for once.
Right.
You know,
right.
and they've never done that. I don't understand why he's still there. Like you said, 13-3. I think if you asked 100 NFL fans right now where they finished last year, they would probably all give them under 13 wins.
Oh, 100%. If I would have guessed like 11-5, maybe 12-4. Like I didn't realize they won that many games. And they were right. They went to the NFC Championship too. I mean, they got smacked by San Fran, but they went there.
And ask 100 NFL fans to name another player on that team besides Aaron Jones and besides Devontae Adams. You can't.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I like Aaron Rodgers a lot, and if he finishes his career with one Super Bowl, I think that's
a massive failure.
Huge failure on his part, because I mean, I'm not gonna like sit here and take the side of like all these big news and media people, but like you hear these people like the Colin Cowards of the world, the Nick Wrights of the world say that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback they've ever seen in their whole lifetime.
Right.
And when you hear those type of opinions from people that have been in the media for decades, it's like the guy needs more than one Super Bowl.
100%. I put that more on the Packers organization than I do on Aaron Rodgers, because they did not put a defense around him. They did not put a team around him. They didn't give him weapons. And it sucks, because I don't blame him for being frustrated like he has been. And yeah, for them to go take Jordan Love in the first round, that would have been my breaking point. I would have been like, all right, let me go. You clearly like here. I'm done. I'm not gonna sit here and fucking mentor this guy.
And rightfully so, right? Like his worst. I think his worst knock as far as like personality goes has been leadership for one, locker room for two, which I think is bullshit. Like, fuck the locker room shit.
Right.
If you need me to come and like pat you on the back or some bullshit and you're a professional, like suck my dick.
Right. You're making millions. Fucking find your own motivation.
But three, like, he's not a good mentor. And it's like, why does he need to be a good mentor?
Right. Well, especially when he thinks he's got as much time left as he has. Why would I be mentoring Jordan Love to potentially take my position when I think I've got 5, 6, 7 years left? Like, I'm out. Let me go.
Won you the fucking division.
Right. He took you to another conference title game, in a year that nobody expected the Packers to do that nobody really even like paid attention to them in the NFC Championship game. Like, it's I don't blame him for being frustrated with the organization. I would not blame him at all if he wanted out, if he requested a trade today.
Even Vegas had that team slided in a lot of games last year, which I know this because I won a lot of money last year. But moving on, I think this is something that I think fell under the radar. I'm a huge fan of Matt Stafford. Stafford last year was a great fucking quarterback until he got injured. Mm-hmm. Played 8 games. He averaged, I think, around 350 yards per game. He had 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. My fucking guy was going off last year.
Right.
I don't think that they have a great team around them, obviously, but I'm a firm believer in the Detroit Lions. I think they're a team that could go 8-8 this year.
Yeah, and I mean, he played the first 8 games, and if you look up there, they lost their last 9. I mean, they started 2-0-1 because the Chiefs played and they were still undefeated. And I mean, yeah, they were on pace. They would have been 3-1 at the time that he went down, and then obviously once you don't have Stafford, so. He's another guy who I think he really is a good quarterback, and he's just been cursed with being in a shit show organization that's never going to put a solid team around you, that's never going to draft well, that's never going to make the right moves, and you're just stuck there. I mean, one of the best wide receivers in NFL history, and arguably the best running back in NFL history, retired in the middle of their prime because they were so fucking tired of playing in Detroit that they just said, fuck it, I'm done. Like, Stafford, give credit to him because he does put up good numbers every year, and you can make the garbage time argument if you want. But he's got multiple 5,000-yard seasons. He puts up numbers, and you're absolutely right. I've always been a fan of him, and it's unfortunate that he had to spend his whole career in Detroit and just win 3 to 7 games a year. Like, poor guy. At least he's making bank. I was gonna say he'll retire with a nice solid bank account and be like, wasn't so bad.
I don't think the Vikings really need to talk about all that much. They're obviously going to be like a good team. The Bears, Mitchell Trubisky.
I got named the starter.
I think this is his last year.
100%. I think he's benched by week 4. I have no faith in Trubisky. I don't think there's any shot that he turns it around, that he does anything. I think he's done. I think by week 4 Foles starts and the Bears go. I think the Bears go like 7-9, but I think that's because they start like 1-3 or 0-4 with Trubisky, and they're just gonna not give themselves a shot.
I just think that he's not the right quarterback for their system.
Mitchell Trubisky is a quarterback that needs to play for like the 49ers, where they just run their smash mouth, run the ball, tight end. I mean, yeah, the Bears aren't the team. They don't have the personnel to make that offensive work. So, but
let's go NFC South.
Yep, Saints, Falcons, Bucks, Panthers. Obviously, a lot of movement in this division. Most notably, Tom Brady to the Buccaneers, Rob Gronkowski to the Buccaneers. Most recently, Leonard Fournette to the Buccaneers. They're gonna have a great offense. They had a good defense last year, but they are in the same division as the Saints, who Drew Brees has shown no signs of slowing down. The Saints have an incredible offense, an incredible coaching staff, and also the Falcons. I mean, they went 7-9 last year, but the Falcons kind of remind me of those early 2000s Giants, where one year they're 12-4 and in the NFC Championship game, the next year they're 4-12 and getting a first-round pick. You know, they seem to be really good and really bad, and it all comes down to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Falcons. This is their year to be good.
Right? Yeah. Every other year
they're good, and then they're terrible.
Yep.
So this is the Falcons go 10-6.
So talk about stacked divisions, NFC South.
Right. I like the Leonard Fournette pickup with the Bucks, but the Bucks kind of remind me of that Eagles team with Andy Reid when they picked up every free agent that they could.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they made the playoffs. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't make the playoffs. The NFC is just so fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
Like the AFC, you have these 8-8 teams, these 7-9 teams that just, are there consistently.
Right.
Whereas the NFC is just like, you have some top heavy teams.
Right.
And you got to go out there. You got to play the Saints. You got to play the Falcons. You're going to have to play the Packers. You're going to have to play the Vikings. Like the list just keeps going on and on. You have to play Seattle. Like it's going to be a grind. I do think the Buccaneers make it to the playoffs, but one team that I think it like has like a dark horse pick is the Panthers. Like I really do like the Panthers. I don't really know much about their defense to like know enough if they're able to.
It's not great.
I don't know if they're, able to stick with like the 49ers or anything like that, but I do like the Teddy Bridgewater pickup. I think besides Cam Newton, he was the most intriguing like pickup.
I agree.
In this offseason when it comes to quarterbacks. I just think he's a guy that we haven't seen his ceiling. And that question mark, I think, is a good question mark when it comes to quarterback.
Yeah, and Teddy Bridgewater, went 5-0 with the Saints last year, who the Saints, you say that Taysom Hill's your starter of the future. You still started Teddy Bridgewater in those 5 games, and they went undefeated. Teddy Bridgewater was a solid quarterback in Minnesota. It was a freak injury that took him out, so it's not like he's got really major injury questions. Obviously, that knee now is a thing where if that gets re-injured, it could be a major issue, but from everything we've seen from Teddy Bridgewater when he's on the field, he's a solid quarterback. And the Panthers, I think the defense, and I think as far as just the rest of the skill level around him, obviously you got Christian McCaffrey, which is huge. But I couldn't name you a single Panthers receiver. I don't know any Panthers receivers. It all depends. And I think in that division, they just don't have a shot. I agree with you. I love the Bridgewater signing. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I think he'll be solid, but that seems like a division where every team can win at least 7 games, but it's just obviously there's not enough room in the playoffs for all of them. And like you said, the NFC is just so strong. I think the Saints go probably 13-3 again, win the division. I think the Buccaneers go 10-6, 11-5. I think they make the playoffs, but I agree with you again. The NFC is such a strong conference that I don't think the Bucs make a whole lot of noise in the playoffs. I think probably divisional round exit, maybe a wild card win.
You asked me last year, beginning of the year. You asked me mid-season. You asked me when the playoffs started. I would have said the Saints were winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%.
And
The Saints have had some issues with early playoff exits. I know they haven't all been their fault. That Rams game was an atrocious call. The Minneapolis Miracle. I mean, it might be more that they're cursed.
Super Bowl too.
Oh, 100%. If the Saints go to that Super Bowl, they shit on the Patriots the way the Patriots played that night, which is disappointing. Obviously, the year before you had the Minneapolis Miracle, which is just oh God, I couldn't imagine being a fan and having that happen to my team. That would be rough. And then last year, who'd they lose to in the playoffs last year?
Who?
I don't remember. I'm trying to...
Who, the Saints?
Yeah. Last year was more of those just like, all right, this has got to stop happening losses. It wasn't really a fluke anything.
Minnesota.
Oh, oh, wow. So they lost to the Vikings again last year in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, the Saints are another one of those teams kind of like the Ravens, where they've got the history of the Super Bowl success. They have won, but in the last 6, 7, 8 years, where's the playoff success? You know, like they don't win when it counts. So the Buccaneers, in their defense, they've got a guy who has proven over the course of the last 20 or so years that he can win when it counts. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting division for sure, but I think the Saints win it. Buccaneers go in the wild card.
Yeah, remember that was the game that Kyle Rudolph kind of pushed off on the...
Oh, yeah, so it was another... Oh, my God, yeah.
I mean, it was controversial, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say... I wasn't as blatant as the year before against the Rams, but...
Right.
It was definitely... Yeah, Saints, I don't blame them. Saints fans have the same relationship with the refs as Rockets fans do with NBA refs.
Right.
Just not fans at all. So yeah, there's our division predictions. Can definitely look at the week 1 lines. I know we're looking at that. I need to get that Bovada app, man, and maybe throw some money of my own down on it instead of just talking about it, you know?
Well, let's run through it.
All right. Well, what do we got? Let's see. Well, first game, Chiefs-Texans, run it back to her starts. The Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites, over under 54.5. I'm going to start and say I think the Chiefs cover that relatively easily. And I'm going to take the under, actually, on 54.5. I think the Chiefs score a lot of points and don't give up many, to be completely honest. I just really, like I said earlier in the podcast, the continuity the Chiefs have with everything. The Texans still have a little bit of that with their offense and everything at least, but I've got the Chiefs winning probably like 31-35-10. Just easy game.
So I'm going to take the Chiefs as well at -9.5, but if I was to bet on this, I would take the Houston Texans at like +13.5 or like +11.
Okay.
Because I do think that it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout by any means. So like smart betting wise, I would take the Texans at like +11, and that's like -155 right now. So you still get paid out pretty well. Over under, I guess I'll go the over on 53.5. I don't really have too much of a strong. I think this could go either way.
Yeah, I'll preface a lot of these picks with I think I'm going to take a lot of unders at the beginning of the year here, because I think just with no training camp, with not nearly as much just playing time, I think going to be a little bit less points than we're used to seeing, especially in recent NFL. So the next game is Falcons. Excuse me, Falcons Seahawks in Atlanta. Seahawks are a 1-point favorite on the road. Over under is 49.
I like so on Bovada, I have it at -1.5, but
okay.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Obviously, I'm going to take the Seahawks here at -1.5. They're kind of continuing the streak that I've been on. The Falcons have to show me something first before I'm going to kind of buy into them. So I'll take the easy pick with the Seahawks here, and it's Falcons at home, but obviously this year that doesn't really mean much.
Right.
So, and then over under at 49. I think that's kind of lenient. I would go the under as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I got the Falcons. Sorry, I've got the Seahawks and I've got the under. Seahawks, they never score a whole lot of points. They're always defensive, and Russell Wilson, he makes the plays he needs to win the game, but unless they're playing, real shitty teams, you don't see the Seahawks always putting up a ton of points. The Falcons obviously struggled last year, and in a dome, without fans, it could be a track meet. But I think just with the lack of time teams have gotten together, I think that there's going to be a lot of low scoring games, at least through the first few weeks. I could be totally wrong. It could be defenses are off, and we'll see nothing but 70-point games all season. Who knows? But yeah, I got the Seahawks and the under on that one. Bills Jets, another noon game on ESPN. Bills are a 6.5-point favorite, and the over under is 40. Only 40.
Yeah, this one's hard. I guess I'll just go Bills at -6.5, just because I know that they'll win.
Yeah.
And then I will actually go with the under. I have it at 39.5, but yeah, 40. I'll take the under on 40.
All right. I'll take. Oh man, I don't know.
I could see this game being like 14-7.
Right. I can see that for sure.
17-7.
Yeah. I think I'll take the under, but I think I'll take the Jets to cover. Or I'll take the Jets. I don't think the Jets win by any means, but like you said, I think it'll be a real close game. Maybe like 16-13, something weird. I think it'll be a little close, especially first game of the year. A lot of teams will be rusty.
This is also another so I'm going against what we're doing here, but the smart gambling thing to do here would be would take the Jets plus 10.5 at -200.
Yeah.
So you're getting all the points.
Yeah, if you can find them for that, for sure.
So.
Yeah. Packers at Vikings. Minnesota's a 2.5-point favorite. Normally teams get about 3 points for being the home team. So however you want to look at that, maybe the Packers are slightly favored in that one, but I would take the Packers there. Over-unders at 46.5. I'd probably take the over on that as well for an early game in Minnesota. Those teams both have good offenses. I'll take the Packers in the over there.
Trying to find this one. Yeah, I'm not gonna go against my Packers. I'll take the +2.5 there. Yeah, I'll take the over as well. I mean, shit. Realistically, you're only asking 23 points from each team.
Right.
I think they'll be able to do that. So yeah, I'll take the over as well.
Colts Jaguars. Colts are a 7.5-point road favorite. Over under 45. I'll definitely take the Colts to cover, and I'll take the over. The Jaguars seem like a team that the Colts are going to score more than 45 by themselves against, so give me the Colts and the over.
Jesus, I'm trying to find this one as well. Holy
Sorry,
shit.
we're on different websites, aren't we? Probably all sorts of different order and shit.
Colts and Jaguars. Are you sure this is a matchup?
I promise. September 13th, 1 p.m.
I don't think this one is on here. Yeah, I'll take the Colts. And I'll take, what was the over-under at?
45.
I would take the under as well.
Yeah. Next game, Bears Lions in Detroit. Detroit's a 3-point favorite, so it's pretty much just a pick 'em. In Detroit, Mitch Trubisky starting. Give me Detroit and give me the over.
So this is one of my locks of the week. I would take Detroit -3. I'm actually going to bet this for sure. Give me Detroit -3 over under. It's a hard one, 44. I would probably take an alternative line, but let's go with the over on this.
Yeah, I got the over on that. Yeah. Cleveland at Baltimore. Ravens are a 7.5-point favorite. Over under is 48.5. 48.5.
This is another one of my locks. I got the Ravens -8.5. I know I'm sporting the Cleveland jersey, but I got the Ravens -8.5 on Bovada.
As he takes it back off.
I got the Ravens -8.5 on Bovada, and that's a lock for me as well.
All right, yeah, I'll take the Ravens in that one. Ravens, that offense, that team is so strong. Cleveland, they've got talent, but they don't have talent to match up with Baltimore. And over under, I'd probably take the over in a game with offenses like that. You can't take the under in that, right?
Right.
Las Vegas Raiders at Carolina Panthers. The Raiders are a 3-point favorite on the road. Over under 47.5. I would definitely take the Panthers as an underdog at home. With Teddy, I don't know. It's a lot of new players, a lot of new things to get in, but I would take the Panthers there. Probably take the under as well.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same thing here, and this is another one of my locks. I got 3 locks this week. Those are the 3.
Damn, right in a row.
One. Yep.
Let's see. Miami, New England. New England's a 6.5-point favorite. Over under 42.5. Is that what it says? Yeah, 42.
Yeah, I got them at 43, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the Patriots here. I'm not too confident in this one, but I'll take them at -6, and then I'll take the over as well.
Give me the same on that one for sure. The Dolphins. Whatever happened with the Patriots, they're still going to be the Dolphins. Eagles versus football team. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites on the road. Over under 43. I think the Eagles win that one. I don't know about the over under though.
Yeah, I think I would take the over just to be safe, just because it is so low.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be too confident in the Eagles. I mean, it's only a touchdown. This is like another one where I would take an alternative line at like 10.5 or something if I was gonna bet the Eagles.
Yeah.
But or like 10 even. But yeah, I guess I'll take the Eagles in this situation.
Yeah. Chargers at Bengals. Chargers are 3.5-point favorite on the roads. Definitely give me that one in Joe Burrow's first game. A lot of stuff going on since he's still not great. Give me the Chargers. Over under 44.5. I'll take the over on that probably. Actually, give me the under. Give me the under. Excuse me. Give me the under.
I was gonna say I'm gonna take the over on this one, and I would go on a limb on this one and say the Bengals +3.
Okay.
If I was to bet it realistically, I would take them at like +7 or like +7.5. But give me the +3.
All right, so this has got to be my most intriguing, the game I'm going to be the most excited to watch in week 1. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Saints. Saints are a 3-point favorite, so at home that means it's virtually a pick 'em. Over under at 49.5. Give me the over for sure in a game like this. And oh man, I couldn't. I don't even know who I want to pick right now at a 3-point spread. I don't know, but hammer the over.
Yeah, give me the over, and I'll take the Saints. I need to see the Buccaneers play first.
Yeah.
So give me the Saints at -3.5. It'll be a close game no matter what.
Yeah. I think the Saints are definitely a safe bet, and if I was putting money on it, I would put it on them too. Cardinals at 49ers. San Fran's a 7-point favorite. Over under 47.
I think this is a pretty easy bet as well. I think you take the 49ers -7 and you run with that, because even if they do win by a touchdown, you still get your money back. So I'll take that, and I'll take the under on this. I think this over under is a little high for what it is.
Yeah, I'll definitely take. Excuse me. I will definitely take San Fran, and you said you'll take the over.
The under.
The under, okay, I agree. As far as these two offenses, San Fran's defensive run-oriented team, I think the under is a safe play, and they've got way more talent than Arizona still, so I'll take San Fran too. Sunday night game is the Cowboys at the Rams. Cowboys are 2.5-point favorites on the road. Over under 51.5.
Give me the under for the first game of the season, and I like the Rams in this. I don't have confidence in the Cowboys anymore, especially with all the bets that I've fucking lost on them. So give me the fucking Rams.
I will take the Cowboys in this one because I feel like the Cowboys always start the season strong and find a way to slowly ruin all their chances down the stretch. So give me the Cowboys early. Give me the over as well. I think they've both got pretty solid offenses. I
said the under.
I'll take the over in this one. I think primetime game, some good skill position players on each side. I think it can be pretty high scoring, but I'll take the Cowboys in that one. Monday night doubleheader. Your early game is the Steelers at the New York Giants. Steelers are a 4.5 favorite on the road, and it's a 47.5-point over under.
Give me the Steelers -5.5. I think that's pretty obvious. I'll take the over in this one, just to put it out there. It's a Monday night game. always bet the over if you're trying to have a good time. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, you don't want to root for players not to score. And then your second half of the doubleheader, Tennessee at Denver. Denver's a 1.5-point favorite at home. Over under 42. I'm going to take Denver in this one. I know I was really high on Tennessee earlier, but I like Denver. I like the fact that they're getting a primetime game at home to start off, and I think that they can win that with their with their crowd. Excuse me. I guess I should kind of figure my shit out. I'll take Denver though.
I'll take the Titans at +1 is what I have them at, and then I'll take the over.
Okay. I think I like the over on this game too. Yeah.
41. I mean, that's pretty low.
Yeah, I agree. Over under on this game. So that's about it for week 1. I guess
we got to wrap it up because Daddy's got to take a fucking piss.
Yeah, it's been a fat minute. It took 90-minute podcast. Not bad. But yeah, we'll get into some more shit. We can maybe do one more before the season starts and get into the yearly award predictions and stuff like that. We'll obviously have to talk about the Chiefs. I think we can maybe do one early this week, Monday or Tuesday, or I guess tomorrow's Monday. Maybe like Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that, and we can talk about the Chiefs going into game 1 and do a little bit more right before the season starts.
I'm with it.
All right, man. Well, it was fun. I think it went well. Get this bitch up on YouTube, and we'll go from here. So have a good one, dog.
Take it easy.